thing that you want people to know about the Bible? The most important.
Oh, that it transforms us as a people into a state of idiocy. It's a very dangerous book.
It's like we hate each other, mostly, the people.
Right.
Why is that?
I just feel like African American is the worst race in the world because, first of all, we kill each other. You know, people always talk about this racist stuff, but the white man ain't waiting in your bushes with a chopper. The white man ain't trying to take your rims off your car. The white man ain't doing all this wrong. We doing this to each other.
I ask you this, sister. If someone was to ask you, where did the universe come from? What would you say? Because I'm looking at you for some answers now, because I need to be ready to answer these questions.
The evidence points to the universe basically being a big bang.
Ever somebody says God did, what they are really saying, and I mean literally, anytime you hear somebody say God did, what they are actually saying is, I don't know. I have no clue. God lives in the gaps of our information. He lives in the gaps of my understanding.
I'm going to give a very, very brief history of what it is, and for those who don't know where the science is. The U.S. Army, for over 100 years, has been giving more or less IQ tests to people to figure out whether they're sort of officer material or, grunt material, so to speak. And what they noticed was between blacks and whites, hey, look, blacks make less money than Ashkenazi Jews. But if you normalize by IQ, they don't. And this is, again, it's heartbreaking stuff, and it is so difficult to absorb this into your daily thinking.
And I accept that. And of course, it evolved into the Canaanites. I refer to them generally and broadly as Hamites. Became slaves in Europe, Spain, in England rather than Spain, and here in America. I've accepted that. God said it, and it's just Bible.
Do you believe that in the beginning that it was intended for Adam to have multiple wives? And if you do believe that, why do you think God only created one?
The problem starts there, right? The problem starts with a concept. I don't believe Adam and Eve were the first two people on the planet Earth. I don't believe they're the first people that were created.
Peace to the gods, peace to the earth, shalom, shalom. I'm here to declare and say off back that we were never to eat meat, anything from an animal, and we will never be declared to eat anything from an animal. No type of flesh whatsoever. Flesh is killing our people. The flesh is one of the number one cause of disease amongst the black community, amongst the world, and you have to have a very barbaric, animalistic lust in nature to even want to eat these.
I'm teaching my child the truth. Stop referring to my child as a goddamn African and black. We don't teach our children that they're Africans, that they came on slave ships, that they're slaves, and that Negroes. We don't teach our kids that. We teach them the truth.
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Hey guys, hey family. I know it's been a while, but I'm here. Shalom, most high blessed. To those that don't know who I am Nephtali, and I represent Nephtali's new school of thought. I want to take a look at my chat and see who's in the building with me today. I want to give a warm shout out and welcome to you, Hazel. Shalom to you, most high blessed, Tracy. How are you today? Shalom. And most high blessed to you, Hazel. Thanks for showing up. Hey, Cube, you out there? Don't be afraid to click the link later. Hey, James, you know I'm always late. I hope you still here, though. Shalom. Praying for an Elisha. Shalom to you. Most high blessed. Tone Yehuda. Shalom. Christ being a sword. Shalom. And Israel Judite. Shalom to my brother. All right, guys. So I'm getting ready to begin the show. I have a brother by the name of Voicey, and he represents Voicey's thoughts. He is he's an atheist. So, I came across his channel and I was very interested because I'm starting to see a lot of our people are starting to transition over to the side of atheism. And so I wanted to have a conversation with him. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be bringing him on right now and allow him to introduce himself. And yeah, so let's get it started. All right, let's bring him on. All right. Hey, Shalom, Most High, bless to you, Voicey. How are you doing today? Won't you introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm alright. I'm alright. How you doing? My name is Volsi. That's actually that's an L actually.
Oh,
I know it's a
Boise. Am I saying it right?
Volsi. Yeah.
Boise. I can't say it. I'm Boise.
No, it's all good. Volsi. It's French. Yeah, it's Volsi. It's French, so it's a little
Oh, it's French.
different.
Okay. What's your
It's French.
background? Are you from France or what are you?
I'm Haitian.
You're Haitian. Okay.
Yeah, so we all have French last names, so that's why. Yeah, but
Oh, yeah. Give us more of your background about you being Haitian and all that.
right. So yeah, my parents came from Haiti. They came from IAT like in the late 70s, around the time of I think it was during Baby Doc's regime. My dad grew up during Papa Doc, and he was a college student under Baby Doc.
Not to cut you
And
off. Not to cut you off. What is Papa Doc?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just give you a big background. In Haiti during that time, there was a dictatorship called the Duvalier dictatorship. His name was Jean-Claude Duvalier. They call him Papa Doc because he was actually a doctor. He studied in the United States and he went back to Haiti and became he was actually a Pan-Africanist leader. Like black nationalism is a big thing in Haiti because of him. Essentially, he was all about, black people unifying the Caribbean, everything like that, and unifying with Africa. The issue is that he was kind of a selfish, airhead. So he saw that America was against communism and all this stuff. So he tried to placate to the United States, and there's a whole history behind this. But anyway, he grew up. My father grew up. He was born under that regime, and then by the time he went to college, his son, Jean-Claude Duvalier Jr., was the president at that time. And just like his father, they perform like mass kidnappings, mass killings of opposition basically. And under the what we call Baby Doc, because it was Papa, then it was Baby. So under Baby Doc, my father decided to leave Haiti because he knew that he couldn't, like, his family wouldn't survive. My dad was a college student. So Baby Doc was taking out all the college students because they're the intellectuals, they're the people who can rise up against the regime. So my dad, he kind of said, okay, I have to get out of here, and he brought my mom over. They were one of the first wave of Haitians coming over in the 70s. They were part of that first wave. And yeah, but my grandmother on my dad's side was actually she used to practice ATR, African traditional religion. She was part of Haitian voodoo, so she did that. But my father was a pastor. He was a Christian pastor, still a pastor to this day. Married to my mother. She helps him out. She's still a pastor to this day. She preaches. My dad preaches. They have their own church down in Miami, Florida. So it's and I grew up in that type of household. I grew up in a Christian household. In Haitian culture, we have a thing called l'église, l'école, lakai. And what that literally translates to is church, home, school. Church, school, and home. That's our culture. Church, school, home. That's all you do. Ain't no going out with friends, ain't no sleeping at your friend's house, ain't none of that. You go to church, you go to school, you come home. That's it. So I grew up in one of those very, very strict households. And of course, being a teenager, you rebel a bit. But even during all that time, I still held on to, my beliefs. I still held on to my Christianity. I was always up in, that mind frame. I actually wanted to go to seminary school in order to become a pastor and follow my dad's footsteps. Funnily enough, that's what started my path, because anyone who's going to be in theology or seminary school, they actually always tell you, when you go through those schools, you got to take philosophy classes, you got to take theology classes, history classes. And being a person who knows about history, you need to learn a lot about archaeology, you need to learn a lot about anthropology, you need to learn a lot about linguistics. You're gonna have to learn a lot, because all these fields are connected. So during that time, I went into my philosophy class, And then my philosophy professor asked the class something that I was never asked before in my life because I never thought about it. He asked, do you believe what you believe because you have a good reason, or do you believe what you believe because you were raised in it? I've never been asked that question. So I didn't really think about it until I thought about it. I was like, the only reason I actually believe this is because I was raised in it. I never questioned it. I never actually did the research myself. Now, as a kid, of course, you're going to have questions, but I always found out that there were questions about things that I read that could not be answered fully, and I always just assumed that, hey, I'll just learn about it later, no worries, you know. But now was a time where I was more independent because I was in college and everything. I was more independent. Now I could search these things out for myself. So that's when I actually ran into people who didn't believe what I believed. Basically, I knew Muslims exist, I knew Hindus exist, I knew atheists exist. I even knew about children of Israel, Hebrew Israelites. I knew about them because down in Miami, there are Hebrew Israelites who are Haitian. There's Haitian Hebrew Israelites in Haiti right now. So like I knew about them, but like I always thought, oh, they're just Christians who wear purple. I didn't think anything of it.
Also,
And I know you told me that.
Oh, they IUIC? Is that what they are?
Right. They were that. They were like, I see. They were there at down in Miami. We have a lot of Caribbean festivals, stuff like that. So I would see them all the time when I go to those. And I thought, okay, they're just Christians who are purple. I didn't know there was a difference until I actually spoke with one, and they told me what the difference was, and they gave me a bit of a rundown of what the difference was. So I said, okay, I understood that. But this was the first time I actually ran into different worldviews. My entire life was Christianity, Pentecostals, specifically Pentecostal Christian.
Okay.
That was my entire life. My mom, actually, my grandmother on my mom's side grew up Catholic because Haiti is about 85% Catholic. So that was that side. Now, during this time when I'm getting more into other mindset, other mind frames, what other people believe, that's when I ran into atheism. And just like most people, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what they believed. I didn't know what it was about. But I got a rundown on what they actually believed, and the definition they gave me, which I never heard that definition before that time, was they said that we basically lack a belief in God. And when they said we lack a belief, they'll tell me, hey, do you believe in Santa Claus or leprechauns? And I'd be like, I would say, no, of course not. They would say the same way that you view leprechauns and Santa Claus is the same way we view the Christian God, the Muslim God, any God that you want to bring up. That's the way we view God, basically. And I said, oh, okay. So that makes more sense because the definitions I was hearing were kind of crazy back then. So that I said, okay, that makes more sense. But all the questions that I had that weren't answered before, I finally started to search out the answers for them. And then I started to run into questions of that question in my mind still popped up. Do I believe because I have a good reason or because I was raised in it? So what I started to do was search for a good reason. I said, okay, I should have a good reason to believe in this. These questions that I have about the Bible that I never answered before, let me try to find those answers. And when I tried to find those answers, I would either find out that the answer was basically this either doesn't make sense or could not have historically happened, or we have no evidence that it actually did happen. So basically it's going to go off of whatever you believe. Do you have a good reason to believe this? And the only reason I could find was I was just raised in it. But more issues started popping up, more questions started popping up when I started seeing that questions, about the beginning, basically from the beginning of the Bible, story of Adam and Eve, story of Noah's Ark, Jonah and the well, the parables of Jesus, etc., etc., etc. Did these things actually happen? And more often I would see that these things either were one, exaggerated, two, were stories from other ancient cultures, or three, we just have no proof that it did happen. So during that time I was like, okay, I'll accept that these things maybe they didn't happen, but I said, okay, you know what, I'll still just carry on a belief in God anyway. I'll just still believe, but maybe religion is not a thing that's for me. Maybe I'm just not Christian, maybe I'm just not any of these other things. I'm just gonna believe in God, but in my soul searching, I will call it, I'll put it in quotes because I don't even believe in souls anymore, but in my soul searching, I would say, do I actually have a good reason to actually believe in God in the first place? Why do I believe in God? Why am I holding on to this? you know, and then I'll come up with a reason like, oh, you know, it gives me purpose, it gives me drive, it gives me morals, etc., etc. But then I started finding out some certain things. Can I have drive and purpose without believing in God? And the answer is yes. Can I have a moral framework without believing in God? The answer was also yes. So then I had to really ask myself, and this was a question that took me a long time to answer, you know, it because I was afraid of the answer. Basically, it took me at least 5 years to answer it. So the question was, if I can have principles, if I can have morals, if I can have drive and purpose in my life without believing in God, and not only that, I don't have a good reason for believing it, why do I believe it? What's the purpose? What's the reason for believing it? If I can be a moral person without believing it, and I have no good reason, why believe it? You know, and that was something that kept on coming up in my head at least 5 years. This was a long journey, you know, as you can tell, I've been talking for a while. So this has been a long journey. And then when I finally was brave enough to answer to myself and be honest with myself and say, you know what? I don't need to believe in this to have those things in my life. That's when I realized I'm an atheist, because I really don't believe this stuff anymore. I really don't believe it. And I'm still the same person that I was before. It's just that part of my life, that part of my identity is gone. And this was something that was extremely hard to come to terms with, because this has been, like I said, I was raised in this. You know, I got baptized in the water, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? I was the pastor's son. You feel me? So being the pastor's son, it's a big deal. You know, so it's like when I come to terms with I don't believe this anymore, it was scary. It was very, very scary, because my friends are from the church, my family is from the church. My fondest memories of my childhood, church. That's all my memories, all the fondness of my memories, from Christmas to holidays to marriages to my first girlfriend, church. You know, so letting that go was extremely hard. You know what I mean? And what some people, when they found out that I didn't believe anymore, they asked me, you know, what happened? Did I get hurt by somebody? It wasn't that. It wasn't hurt. I know there are people who go through something called church hurt, where they get hurt by religion and they don't believe anymore. And that wasn't me. I never been through any of that. Luckily for me, I've never been traumatized by the faith. It's just that intellectually I had to be honest with myself, and I feel I'm in a much better, I'm in a much more honest position to say that if I don't have a reason to believe in something, there's no reason for me to believe it. You know, if I come across good evidence and good reasons, sure, I'll consider it.
So
You
can I
know,
ask you a
so far,
question?
I haven't
Since
been.
we're right here,
Mhm,
um,
sure.
what is good evidence to help you believe in something?
What would
Or
be good?
what is good evidence to help you, transition over to your, what would you call that? Because you have to
What would I
believe in
call?
evolution as well, but I
Mhm.
guess, going into evolution, what caused you to want to go into that walk into evolution?
Oh, into like accepting evolution more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's basically because I didn't believe in it before as well. Before I accepted that is true. Excuse me. I would say good evidence is something that's essentially testable and repeatable, and has the principle of parsimony, basically. And what that means is that, for example, let's say I were to tell you, hey, I have $3 million hidden in the beach in Bahamas. Buy a ticket, and when we get there, I'll give you half. You're not gonna believe me just because I say it. You know, you're gonna say, okay, before I do this, I'm gonna need a contract. I'm gonna need a picture. I'm gonna need a bank account, a bank statement. I'm gonna need something to show that you actually have that $3 million. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not gonna buy a ticket to Bahamas and go with you to a beach, and I don't know who you are. You could kidnap me or anything. You feel me? So when we talk about good evidence, that's what we mean. That's something that we can actually test. We can actually repeat that test to see that it actually falls into this like category. This is really the only proof that we have,
So what
and we can. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so what test was it that made you uh, feel that this was, something that you wanted to accept evolution is true or as fact? What evidence was supported did you receive?
Genetics and the fossil record,
So
essentially.
when you refer to genetics, what
Mhm.
do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, for example, we know that. We can test that when we check our DNA patterns. We
Mhm.
know that our DNA patterns and the DNA patterns of chimpanzees, basically what we call the great apes, humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans. We share about 98 to 99% of our DNA pattern. And not only that, with when it comes to chimpanzees, humans have chromosomes and animals also have chromosomes. So chromosome 2 basically is a chromosome within our body and it's fused. Humans and chimpanzees are the only organisms on this planet that have chromosome 2 linked. Basically, we're the only ones that have a fusion of chromosome 2. That right there shows a common ancestry. Like it's absolute proof of it. You feel what I'm saying? So when I saw that,
Okay,
I'm
so you
sorry, go
said
ahead.
chromosome 2 with the ape and the chimpanzees?
hmm With
And you
humans and chimpanzees, not only share 99% of our DNA, but we have a fusion of chromosome 2, and we're the only two species on this planet that has that shares that chromosome 2 is fused. So that's like
chromosome 2.
a silver bullet to show common ancestry.
That's a
There's
silver
also
bullet.
others like
So
morphology, etc.
there's many animals, that we share a lot of our DNA with. They claim that we share a lot of our DNA with. So when you bring up the 99% with the ape, we actually share 98.6 with the ape, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. But we also share a nice chunk of our DNA with what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when you go into the zebrafish, they say we share 70% of our DNA with this fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fish we say share about 70%. The fruit fly, which is a
Mm-hmm.
fly, we share about 60% of our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest one of them all, how do you feel about a pig? How do you feel about the pig? The quote unquote, the pig, they say that we share 99% of our
Percent of our
DNA.
DNA. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So would you say that one of our ancestors is a pig?
No.
Why
What I
not?
would say,
Hmm.
um, this is what I would say because pigs are mammals, correct? Pigs are mammals and fish are vertebrae. We're also mammals and we're also vertebrae. You see what I'm saying? And what this all shows is that sharing that DNA, because one thing people need to understand is that evolution is a theory of population genetics. It's not individuals that change, it's populations that change over time. So what that means is that um when we say population genetics, that's going to show that if evolution is true, everything on this planet should be related to something else. You feel what I'm saying? Until we find a species that's somehow not related to any other species on this planet, then that would put some doubts into the entire framework. You feel what I'm saying? So us sharing 70% with fishes and 80 to 90% with fruit flies and pigs, that's something that we would expect to see with evolution, as a matter of fact, because that's what it says. We all descended from single cell organisms into the diversity that we have today. You see what I mean? So it's not that we're saying that our ancestors were pigs or had to be pigs, but we know that pigs being mammals and us being mammals, there's going to be some sort of relation there. But our closest relatives, our closest, I would say, quote unquote relatives, that's just the language we have to use. But the closest species closest to us would be the other apes, and we can show that through morphology. Pigs don't share our morphology, but the other apes do share our morphology. Does that make more sense?
All right. So with that, so when you bring up this, you're saying that we all, the fossil record, us sharing the DNA. But the thing is, we have to think about like this. You have to believe in a lot of this, right? It requires a lot of belief. Like, for instance, they have found chimpanzee bones in South America. Uh,
Mhm.
how do you feel about that? They're saying that uh, these now they're saying that the monkeys, so-called chimpanzees or apes, originated in Africa,
Mhm.
specifically Tanzania and Kenya. Now they're saying that these monkeys, these apes, migrated all the way over to West Africa, and then they made themselves rafts, and they traveled on these rafts across the ocean over to South America. And does that make sense? I mean, because when you think about it like this, right? you talk about the religious aspect of it. You were trying to see what is the value of religion. You're saying that there's many different deities, different gods, and what does this have to do with anything? There's no evidence when there's tons of evidence to support that there is a God, that there is all different cultures all around. Uh, we have intelligent cultures, civilizations have all spoke of deities, have all worshiped a god, and all of them have gave recognition to a certain deity. So the thing is that they also have found, the deities like Israel written in different Moabite stones, many different. We see the people in the Bible. They're these the Elamites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, pretty much take over. And a lot of people say they still are the Canaanites. We see that people, the Elamites, the Assyrians, when you go back to the Babylonians, they were Amorites. All these different civilizations and cultures all came out of the Bible. They all span from the Bible. So when we look at it that way, why do you think these civilizations did this? Why do you think they're doing it? What would be the cause of them wanting to take on these, like the Babylonians? Why would they call themselves Amorite? Why would they do that if they're not the Amorite?
Okay, well, that was a lot. Well, first, when it comes to you said that I'm not sure if it was chimpanzee bones in South Africa. I'll have to look at that, but I know that there's something called old world monkeys and new world monkeys. Like there's monkeys in South America. We know that. So I'm not sure if it's chimpanzees, but I'll look more into that because I'll be honest, I haven't heard that one. You feel what I'm saying? But and when it comes to all these civilizations that you're saying, that's something that happens throughout history regardless. Um let me see if I can give a good example. Like for a good example, in the Indus Valley civilization, right? Um or the subcontinent of India, we know that the children of Genghis Khan, like his grandchildren, we know his grandchildren ended up being in India, but all those kids were originally from the Mongol Empire, but they ended up being Indian. You see what I'm saying? So like people calling themselves, like the Babylonians calling themselves Amorites and taking on like the God of Israel and everything like that. That's something that happens throughout history, regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like every cultural group does that. They when they either conquer or get conquered by another cultural group, you start to see that within that cultural group, their descendants start to either synchronize with the religious figures of the dominant group, whether they got conquered or they conquered them, or they basically like take on that entire culture and take on that entire identity. That's
Okay,
something that always happens.
so let's try to build here. Okay, so when you say that you think so the thing is that you're looking at intelligent. Is that what it is? Because when you look at the Sumerians, for instance, when we look at them, they were highly civilized all the way down to the Babylonians. So why do people need to, like I said to you earlier, why do people need to take, names out of the Bible and apply it to themselves? Um, when you look at how these cultures are, you look at how the Sumerians, how they lived, it actually brings the Bible to life. Why doesn't it bring the Bible to life? Why does it take away from it? Is what I'm Because we see these groups, right? And they're living out what the Bible is speaking. They're living it out. They talk about Baal, and we know that Enlil is Baal, right? We know that Enlil, when you go to Sumerian, you look at their deity. It tells you who their deity is. It's Enlil, or you look at Enki. You look at those two deities. When you look at the Bible, that deity is Baal. So my thing is that they are actually worshiping these. They're saying that they're being visited, and they have intelligence to, to formulate writings within the cuneiform tablet. They established all of that. So my thing is to you is, if they're able to do all of this, why waste time make believe? Why don't you, what I'm saying, what's the point of make believe when they can just, They already have it written up. These people are not just people that are just living outside and just making things up. These are people that have some form of intelligence. What's the need of making up things is what I'm
Oh, okay. No, I'm not. Now I think I understand what you mean.
saying. Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. I don't think these people like just made it up out the blue.
Okay.
Essentially, as just one day, like one day, one person woke up and say, "Hey, there's a guy named Baal," and everybody just worshipped him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's the case. These things are things that happen like over time. These are like 1,000-year traditions. You know what I'm saying? Like thousands of years even before cuneiform was made. So like it's not something that I think that is just made about the blue one day. And I'm not saying that they know they made it up. I truly believe that these people actually believe what they thought was real. They thought, Baal was real. They thought Asher was real. They all thought all that was real. Just like the Greeks thought that Zeus was an actual person that, shot lightning down from the mountains. We know that's not true though, but they actually believed it. And that's not to say that the Greeks, made it up out of thin air. It was just the explanation that they had for things that they didn't understand. You feel what I'm saying? So when I say, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to build with you. But when you say when you look at the Greek god, it's actually the same deity as what the Sumerians had. And when you go over here to this portion of land, they found out when you look at Quetzalcoatl, which is uh, what would you call a Mexican deity, they actually have the same. Their deity actually goes back to Odin, and then Odin goes back again to Baal. So all these equivalent, we have to look at things as if it's not a coincidence. And when they look at these deities, when you span all the way over to Mexico, and then you go all the way to Greek, and then you go all the way to Sumeria, to Sumer, all of these deities seem to line up together. They share the same equivalent. So the thing is that there cannot be a matter of just mere coincidence. We have to take that into consideration that some form of introduction to these deities had to come in personally. They had to interact with this, have a personal um, interaction, and not something that is just made up. We will have to look at it that way, correct?
No, the reason why I would say not necessarily is because all these deities are basically sky deities. You know what I mean? Like Odin is a sky deity. The Mexican guy you're talking about is a sky deity. Zeus is a sky deity. Baal is a sky deity. You know what I mean? Every single culture across the planet had deities that were associated with the sky. You know what I mean? And something that we would basically expect because every culture looks up at the sky. It's just like every culture across the world has a deity associated with the moon, a deity associated with the stars, a deity associated with the sun. Stories about where the sun and the stars go at night. Because remember, these are all ancient cultures or cultures that didn't interact with anybody else, and they couldn't explain these things. They couldn't go to outer space and know that the sun is a star. They didn't know that. So it's one of those things where
That's not true.
even though they seem, I'm
That's
sorry.
not that's not true. That's not true. They did know. When you look at the Dogon tribe, they knew of
Mhm.
Sirius A as well as Sirius B. The thing is you can see Sirius A with the naked eye, but you cannot see Sirius B. So
That's
how would
just, yeah,
they
no, that's
have?
true.
I'm sorry.
No, I said that's true. That's true. Something
Yes,
like
how
that.
would they have the knowledge to know
Mhm.
of a star that is not seen with the naked eye? They
Oh,
tell
that
you
I don't know.
they tell you how they know of the information. So why don't we why don't we give them the whatever word I'm looking for. Why don't we accept what they say? When they gave us evidence, everybody talks about what evidence is there. If the evidence is there to support it, we have evidence. We have not necessarily just a word of mouth account. We actually have people who visually saw this and they actually proven correctly. So the thing is, like when you talk about evolution took billions, millions of years, correct? There was
Mhm.
nobody there that was there to witness firsthand any of these this evolution, them evolving into different beings, different species. Nobody has seen that. Um,
Mhm.
no one had an eyewitness account. The thing is that you guys are okay with accepting that. However, when we have the Dogon tribe, who's given us a literal eyewitness account, came out with information that science hasn't even come out with, and they have proven that they were visited by a specific, like you said, sky beings and sky deities that came down. and they actually gave them this. They're saying that they gave them this knowledge. And so my thing is that what makes people morphing and evolving into an animal more believable than people saying that they're believing that they were, they were visited by
Visited by a
intellectual being.
deity.
Yeah.
Um, the difference is that when it comes to things like evolution, there are things that we can actually physically track. For example, the fossil record, like the fossil record, we can actually fit the. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that.
Hmm.
We can actually look at the fossil records. For example, if we look at the evolution of whales, for example, we know that we've seen bones and fossils of whales, like ancestors of whales, of first the nose coming here to the face and then moving back until you see the blowhole. We actually have a complete fossil record of that. You feel what I'm saying? So that's even if we couldn't see it ourselves, we have to follow what the fossil says, or we would follow what the fossil record looks like. You see what I'm saying? So we have that. So that's why we would say, okay, there's more proof here. A person saying I was visited by a deity, how exactly do we test that? Sure, we could give them the benefit of the doubt. We can give them the benefit of the doubt, but there are people who says they have eyewitnesses of genies, of leprechauns. How do we? What do we do? This is my question: is what exactly do we do with that?
Well,
You know
when
what I'm
you look
saying?
at
Now, the Dogon tribe,
when you
yeah,
listen to the truth behind what a genie is, when you look at through the truth behind what a leprechaun is, what a troll, what an elf, when you go into those different things, they actually span from something else. They morph into something more childlike and more friendly. But when you
Mhm.
really go into the history and when you go into the culture, you start to see that it's actually not. Um, like you see, like right now, the Christmas elves and all that kind of stuff. It looks, child friendly and all that kind of stuff, but it's really not. When you look at these Gothic churches, all these magnificent structures, I don't think people spent 100 years. A lot of these churches took over 100 years
Mhm.
to finish. I don't think people with that type of knowledge to create such a structure would create these temples for just because they feel like something like they feel like they believe in a god, or they feel they have a feeling towards something. They actually are building these structures because they actually have the witness accounts of these deities coming down and meeting with them personally.
I mean,
um,
the thing is, what I would always say is that feelings can make you do a lot. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if we're going to give the benefit of the doubt that a god or some god exists because people built temples or they had some scientific knowledge, okay, that's cool. But then if we're gonna give the benefit of the doubt to that god, we also have to give the benefit of the doubt to the gods of the Indus Valley civilization, which became Hinduism. We have to give benefit of the doubt to Shintoism for the Japanese civilization because they built the entire civilization around Shintoism. You feel what I'm saying? We'll have to give benefit of doubt to all of these. And at the end of the day, it's basically, okay, if we're gonna say all these gods exist, how exactly do we show that they do? Because just someone saying that they did 1,000 years ago and now we still believe it now, for me, is just not good enough. Because if that's the case, I might as well just accept what my grandma was talking about with Gay Day and Legba and Shango and all her voodoo religions. You see what I'm saying? I might as well accept that. You feel me? Because that's been worshipped for thousands of years as well.
there's probably some, with her, her belief and her religion goes back to what's in the Bible, and it also goes back in history. She's not making any of this stuff up. I'm going to take it to actually accept what people say. I'm
Mhm.
not going to limit people, like I said, with the Dogon tribe. They're actually an eyewitness of, eyewitness proof that they have been visited. We hear about extraterrestrial beings coming down, providing knowledge. We also hear about that in the Bible. They talk about the fallen angels. We also hear about, people being visited. We call it UFO. So
Mhm.
my thing is like this. You talk about your grandmother, and I would like to hear more about what you say. Legba is that? I,
Yeah, Legba.
yeah, Legba.
Papa Legba, Baron Samdi.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're back. You said you're Pentecostal, correct?
Yeah, I was raised Pentecostal Christian.
Okay. Okay. So I was raised Baptist, missionary Baptist. Now, one thing that I
Mhm.
have learned is that Christianity has absolutely nothing to do with the Bible. So that's probably why you you fled left, because you started to realize that hey, something is going on. And what's going on is that when you look at Constantine, Constantine is the one that's supposed to be accredited with Christianity. But when you look at Constantine, he never let his pagan background go. That's why when you
Yeah,
look,
never
we
did.
have Christmas coming up, and Christians are
Mhm,
celebrating Christmas when Christ,
mhm.
and they know doggone well Christ's birthday was not, oh no, it's nowhere found.
Of course not.
No. Same thing with
Even that I knew when I was a Christian. Even that I knew, like, Jesus
exactly.
wasn't
And
born
that's
during this time. Of course not.
exactly. And that's what it is. You know, a lot of these Christians are the ones that are causing all the problems because they are coming in. You know, there's something called a Christmas ham. The
Mhm,
Bible tells you not to even, the Most High said not even eat pork. So why would you even
mhm,
eat pork? You see what I'm saying? And when you look at these reefs, I'm actually getting ready to be doing a video on the true history behind
mhm.
Christianity. I mean, behind Christmas. But
Christmas, mhm,
so let's get more into this. Okay. So when you talk about evolution, you talk about the
mm.
fossil record. So the fossil record, I know it's supposed to be layers within the within the dirt and things like
Give me
that.
1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Mafe baga kunya. Yeah, mafe baga kunya. Yeah, me fe pot lang. No, mafe baga. Fe pot lang po mo. Bagay mo ba? Sorry, that's my cousins and them.
Oh, you're fine. My kids are in the background. I keep turning my
Mhm,
stuff off because my kids are in the background. All right. So you talk
mhm,
about the fossil record, and it's different layers, and that's supposed to be how they measure. Now,
mhm,
why do you accept this as a fact when there is no way of measuring how old these layers of the dirt is? And the bones, um, is just bones in the dirt. Now, when you look at how a bone is fossilized, it requires mud and it requires it to be um, fully covered, correct?
mhm,
And a
mhm,
lot of us would say that that was created by a universal flood, a whole bunch of water collecting and, um, like a massive, like a them dying, the animals dying, and then they're being coated within the mud, which had the I guess what would you say, the salt, the minerals in it to help
mhm,
create the fossils. And
mhm.
so I say that to say that this actually supports the biblical narrative with the flood story more than it would with the so-called evolution story. How do you feel about that?
Okay. Um, when it comes to the fossil record, the way that we measure how old things are is through two main methods, which is carbon dating and radiometric dating. Carbon dating does have some issues where you can only date it to such amount of time, but radiometric dating is a lot more accurate. You know what I'm saying? So if we use
Well,
like a
that's not
combination,
quite true. When we get into the radiometric dating, they actually you try to utilize that form of dating and with a structure that they already knew how old it was, and it actually came out. It did not provide, and I can actually provide you with that actual source. But go ahead and tell me how you feel about that. The errors within the radiometric dating, because the carbon dating only goes up to what 15,000 uh,
I think
years.
carbon goes to 50, and
50.
radiometric goes like to millions. But
Yes, so that's the problem is that the radiometric dating is what we're seeing issues in because they are trying to measure structures like the volcanoes and things like that. And when they measure the volcanoes, they're finding that it's nowhere near uh, millions of years or 250,000 years or whatever they're trying to say it is. They're not finding it to be true. They're finding it to be significant, people.
okay, if the prior assumption was that it was 250,000 years, and radiometric dating shows that it's much older than that,
It shows that it's
why
younger. No, it shows that it's younger.
show that it's younger than that? Okay, but
Mhm.
that doesn't really show become a problem with radiometric dating in my view. But I do know that there are other dating methods, but I'm not a geologist, so I wouldn't know them. You know what I mean? That's not something I can answer.
It looks like
Or
your
Mhm.
requirements for evolution is slimmer than what your requirements are for the biblical narrative. You have to think about it like that. You say, "Oh, I don't mind that. Oh, I'm not worried about that. Oh, I accept that." Like I said, we have word of mouth account with the Dogons showcasing the Sirius, right? The Sirius star. Oh, you're not concerned about that. I spoke about how they say that they want to say, the chimpanzees are indigenous to only Africa. However, they found their teeth and bones within South America. There is no reason for them to be over there if they originated in Africa. Now, they said that they created rafts. Now, I don't know how something that's supposed to be primitive was able to create a form of raft and then have a thought to go over the ocean and travel to another landmass and set up there. I don't know why. And my question is why haven't they done it again? It's like they did it that one time. Why didn't they do it again? Why don't they, have the nerve to travel anywhere else? Why just that,
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Because this is something that I've actually run into sometimes, and
Mhm,
I need something. I need some clarity.
mhm.
For example, yeah, now the when it comes to the Dogon tribe, it's not just the Dogon tribe. Anyone who says that it's an eyewitness account, I'm going to from thousands of years ago that we can't test. I'm going to doubt. You know what I'm saying? I do the same thing for the Odyssey. For for there are things in Hinduism that I completely doubt, and they all say they had eyewitnesses account. So it's not just them. But when it comes to the entire thing of chimpanzees in Africa, and they say they took a raft, who is they? Where did you get that from?
Okay, where did I get that? I can share
Yeah,
my
where did
screen.
it from?
I already have that prepared for you. Now the thing is, it's not about the eyewitness account. The thing is about how did they know of it? You have a so-called tribe in Africa, the Dogon, who's supposed to be what you would consider to be low IQ individuals, primitive group of people that shouldn't know anything, right? Shouldn't have.
I
They don't
wouldn't.
have a
No, I wouldn't.
telescope. They don't. I'm just saying they don't have a telescope, right? They don't have all these. They don't have a spaceship. They don't have anything to be able to get the knowledge of this star. And the thing is that they have knowledge of it. So my question is, and why I pull up this thing about the monkeys, why don't you share with us is, why don't you accept their information? And then you say, oh, I don't want to believe them, but you're willing to believe these evolutionists when they have a lot of holes and gaps within their information. But go ahead and share that.
Okay. Um. When it comes to them, the like I said, the reason why is not just them. Anyone who says I had an eyewitness account of this is something that I doubt, because or it existed like thousands of years ago and it passed down through word of mouth. It's something that everyone should doubt, because again, thousands of people, they say they have eyewitnesses account, and we know those things don't actually exist in real life. Like Aphrodite, like Apollo, those things don't really exist in real life, but people have said that they have eyewitness accounts of them. You feel what I'm saying? So it's not just the Dogon tribe, essentially. Now when it comes to them, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's not a problem. It's something here. Okay, give me a second. Let me read. More than 30 million years ago, monkeys rafted across the Atlantic, South America.
Okay, hold on. I must have shared my screen. 1 second, because it's not letting me show the whole thing. Hold on. They have a new way of sharing your screen. Okay. 1 second. All right. Hold on, I'm trying. There it is. All right. Can you see my screen?
I can see it.
All right. So it says more than 30 million years ago, monkeys rafted across the Atlantic to South America. It says fossil teeth uncovered in Peru revealed that an extinct family of primates thought to have lived only in Africa made it across the ocean. Now,
Okay.
it says, in a strange twist of evolutionary history, the ancestors of modern South American monkeys, such as the capuchin,
Capuchin.
woolly,
Capuchin. Mm-hmm.
yeah, the capuchin and the woolly monkeys first came to the New World by floating across the Atlantic Ocean made of mat of vegetation and earth. Now, this right here is complete. What somebody would say is complete nonsense. You mean to tell me some ape, very primitive ape, made rafts out of vegetation? Some of them say banana leaves. They took wood and they put it together and they floated over the ocean, right?
Mhm.
Right here. They float. It says they made it across the ocean, and this is from the Smithsonian. Now,
Mhm.
it also says here they made the Atlantic Ocean on massive vegetation to Earth. According to a new study, they were not the only primates to make the trip. A fossil find in Peru suggests that a different, entirely extinct family of primates undertook the same kind of oceanic voyage more than 30 million years ago. How did they know to even utilize the number of 30 million years? How did they even know to even think that an ape floated across the Atlantic Ocean? Mind you, they've never done that out of the
Mhm.
times that we've been around. Why does this make more sense to people than Thor, a god like striking lightning down? I mean, why does this? I mean, that sounds ridiculous to people, right? But why would it sound scientific for me to say that a group of monkeys floated across the came up with a thought to just one day? They were just sitting there. It was like, hey, I wonder what it'd be like to go over across this ocean. And then they made it there. And then
Mhm.
they set up shop. Now, mind you, it says here in a strange twist of evolutionary history. Now, we got to think about it like this, right? They need to make an excuse because it shouldn't. They say that in order for this theory of evolution to work, you got to come out of Africa, right? There shouldn't be any apes anywhere else because they need the apes to start there to be able to evolve into the people that we see today. But my thing is that why do people find it, okay or accepting to believe that apes crossed the Atlantic Ocean on mats that they created and then uh, made it over there to South America? Now, people can say, oh, well, the apes probably were endangered or they were trying to get away for something. Well, guess what? The apes are now endangered species. Why don't they have the same knowledge? I mean, why don't they have the same urge to say, hey, why don't we get out of here? And because we're about to die off. Why don't that just pop in their brain? Because they're all dying off. They're all getting, as we see, they're on the endangered species list. Why don't they have the same knowledge? And why are you willing to accept this more than uh Thor striking lightning down? Is what I gotta
Okay.
ask.
Okay. So a couple of things here because it's a lot to unpack. One thing that is pointed out in that article that this was probably 30 to 40 million years ago. One thing that we do know and that we can prove is that during that time we know the land masses were closer together. Okay, so that's number one. But number two is that um when we say that things are supposed to come out of Africa, that um also that article that you showed me also said that these came out of Africa from the fossilized records that they were able to find, right? But the third thing that I would say is that the reason why people are more willing to accept this rather than Thor is because again, we have no proof of Thor other than stories from the Vikings saying that Thor existed. We just can't just go off of, like, for example, like if I tell you that I have a naked picture of your husband in my back pocket, you're not gonna believe me just because I say it. You know what I'm saying? So you it's not just when people say that they, of course there's the text of Thor and eyewitnesses of Thor. These are thousands of years ago. People are long dead and gone. We cannot ask those people if they really saw Thor or not. You know what I'm saying? So that's why people say accept something that's more concrete, like fossil records and an actual scientific study, than Thor creating lightning. You feel me? But the fourth thing that I want to say is that number one, I'm not an evolutionary biologist or a geologist. So this article that you're showing me saying that asking me the question, I'm gonna tell you, you need to refer to a geologist and actual evolutionary biologist. I'm not those things. So like, and I know it sounds crazy because you're saying, hey, you have evolution. So can you explain this? I really can't, because like my knowledge of evolution is very, 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 I'm very, very base. And the reason why I accept it is because of the evidence that comes out for it. I can explain it to a certain extent, but at some point, I'm gonna tell you, you gotta ask a biologist. I do not know. You feel what I'm saying? That's completely honest.
Part of your logic, though,
Like,
you said 30 million. You said that was 30 million years ago. You said it like that was 30 million years ago. But my thing is that you still are willing to accept it, even though you have no evidence. And the thing is that when you get into the other great apes, you said it was a capuchin.
capuchin. Capuchin is not a great ape, it's a monkey.
No, I'm talking about different great apes and the capuchin. The thing is that there is no witness of account of this. They said it's an extinct species that was there over 30 million years ago. No one has ever seen it. No one knows. How do you even know? They just found some teeth of a monkey or some form of primate and just said, oh, this is 30 million years ago, and just slapped it on there like that. And then everybody else is willing to accept it. And the fact is that we have, I just looked into this. It says that along with the other great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and humans, bonobos, they call this apes, are among the only mammals that lack the instinctual ability to propel themselves through water. So they can't float, right? These apes can't float.
Right.
So how they're too dense. So how did they get across this ocean?
Right. But I understand what you're saying, but like I said, I do not know because I didn't perform these studies. I don't know.
So you don't require it. You don't require the information. You don't require much.
What I'm saying is I do require much when I say that that I accept evolution. There's a huge body of evidence for the evolutionary record. It's not just me just saying this stuff. If you go on a website called talkorigins.org, they actually have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of the fossil record. If you go to if you research like genetics of evolution, there are thousands and thousands of papers showing the genetic lines of evolution. It's not just me saying these things. It's not just, something that happened in a museum and I saw it. That's not what it is. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence. So, and I can't go through them all because I can't memorize thousands of pages of bones. You know what I mean? So if you tell me here's an article that I don't understand, I don't understand it either.
I'm just saying to you like this, though, right? I'm listening to your logic and your reason. But the thing is that it's the same thing when it comes to religion. I say that evolution is a religion. It requires you to believe in it. Like you said, 30 million years ago, once upon a time, a long, long time ago. What difference does that make? Long time ago, down in the woods, in the wilderness. Whatever. You want to, believe in these so-called, nursery rhymes or folk tales and stuff like that. It sounds the same to me. The thing is that you talk about the fossil record. The fossil record is just bones in the dirt. That's all it is. We just, you bury it. Technically, when you want to get technical, it really is. When you really want to get technical, what they did was they went in and they dug up and they found some bones. That's what they did. Literally. If I told you that the Dogon tribe was visited by a deity or some form of intellectual being or whatever you want to call it, you would think it's funny. My thing is this: you find bones in the dirt. Why is that so much? How's that scientific? Bones are always in the dirt.
There's what I'm saying. Here's a difference, and I kind of feel like I'm repeating myself. When it comes to people like the Dogon tribe, I'm not saying that what they the scientific findings that they have, such as the stars and Sirius, that is not true because of this thing. That's not what I'm saying. What they pointed out was true, which actually shows that white supremacy is a false because black people are smarter than what they say they are. But what I'm saying is that what they attributed to, which is basically deities that they saw, that's where the doubt comes into play. When it comes to things like the fossil record, paleontology is not just bones in the ground. Paleontology is an actual like testable science. You feel what I'm saying? It's not just they went to some place, dug in the ground and found bones. There are layers, there are rock strata, there's chemistry that goes into this. Paleontology is an entire field of science that I'm not even qualified to talk to you about on. But like but saying that, paleontology and this stuff is just bones in the ground is basically saying, chemical engineering is just throwing liquids together. It's not. It's a lot more complicated than that. You feel what I'm saying?
Agree with that. Finding what someone they're actually showcasing. If I just because, and I see you saying that you're putting yourself down. That's why I don't get my background. Because everybody always thinks that if you have some form of intelligence, that's because you went to a college or that's because you have these letters behind your name.
No, of
And
course
then
not.
you look at people and you go, oh, well, I'm not this or I'm not that, so I'm not qualified to speak on that. And I don't take that as true because there's a lot of people who don't have any of that that are able to find uh, all this information, research it and come out top better than these so-called paleontologists or these so-called wherever you want to classify. It doesn't, you're limiting yourself and saying that you don't have all the knowledge and the information. But don't you think that you need to really have a lot in order for you to throw away what I'm saying? You want to be so firm on the slightest bit of information that you don't even understand to throw away a whole, portion.
What I'm saying.
And maybe there is a God. You see what I'm saying? You can't take
No,
away
here's the thing. It's not just the slightest bit of information. Like I said, this process just took me almost a decade. It wasn't just here's some bones and don't believe anymore. It wasn't that. You feel what I'm saying? Like
You said to me, and I
Hmm?
just want to talk with you. You said to me earlier, you said, do I need this book to feel this type of way? Do I need this book to have to move forward on with my life? You say you don't need it. You don't see what the value of having this book because you're saying I can do these things without the Bible. I can do these things without that. But my thing is that where did law and order originate from? How do you establish and how do you keep law and order without a governing body? Right?
Right,
Everything
but
you have is somebody governing, but who's going to govern the ones who are doing the governing?
correct. No, this goes into philosophy, and this is a very very good question. Um, I didn't like what I told you was basically a very very condensed version because remember this is over 10 years. This is not I'm not saying that one day I just woke up, oh, I don't need God anymore and I just decided. Like I said, this took over 10 years. You know what I mean? This is not something I just threw away easily. And it wasn't something like a paleontologist came to me, here's some bones, okay, I don't believe anymore. It wasn't that. You feel what I'm saying? Because like I said, even when I started to open up more and say maybe evolution is true back when I was probably like 19, 20, and I'm in my 30s now. You feel what I'm saying? Even back then, I was like, oh, maybe evolution is true, but I still believe in God. You feel what I'm saying? So it wasn't just one thing. You feel me? But when it comes to your question of who governs the governed, that's a philosophical question that even major philosophers haven't solved yet. Usually, who governs the governed are the people being governed. And I know it sounds paradoxical. You feel what I'm saying? But like at the end of the day, when I say that I didn't need the Bible for certain things, I'm talking about the type of life that I live, a life with integrity, a life of honesty, a life of temperance, a life of having principles, a life of having morals. Do I need to be religious in order to have those things, or do I need to even believe in God to have those things? The answer to me is no. I do not need that. I don't think anybody does, but it doesn't really matter what I think. It matters what you think. If people feel that they need this in order to live their lives, in a non-destructive way, have at it. I'm not going to take that away from you. I'm not going to say don't believe in God anymore because I don't and I don't need it. No, I've met people before that told me, yo, bro, if I stop believing in God tomorrow, I'm going to go down to my block, start selling drugs and join the Crips again. I told him, if you ever feel that you're not going to believe in God anymore, I will take you to church myself just for you not to join them. You feel what I'm saying? I would do that for you. So it's like, I'm not going to take anything away from you. I was only talking about myself when it comes to my personal life and how I live my life. I don't.
It's a lot of people that share your sentiments, and that's what I'm saying. I teach on this all the time. You know what I'm saying? This is a lot of my background is to teach about why we shouldn't believe in evolution. the problems with evolution plaguing our community as well as plaguing the world. You said, why do I need the Bible? The thing is that when you grew up, you was raised in the Bible. You was raised with the Bible, which established a lot of that, uh, you know, your morals and your background, because that was achieved by the Bible. If we didn't have the Bible, where would people get? If you want to talk about evolution, a lot of, when you look into a lot of these people, what is stopping them from, doing all type? If you're an animal, what's stopping you from doing bestiality, right? What's stopping you from doing the robbing, the killing, the stealing? What's stopping that? Because the thing is that we're all animals, we're all beasts. And when
Mhm.
you look at an animal, when you observe an animal, you know what I'm saying, especially a chimpanzee or an ape or some form of primate, there is no, they will literally kill each other, right? They will, fling species. It's no real order. And I know they say, well, we evolved from all of that, but what's evolving when you have this Bible that's been around for thousands of years that people have read? Isn't that where everybody received their morals and their values, right? Because when you look at Constantine, before you look at the Vikings, like you said with your grandmother, she was, with the Haitians, with the sacrificing of animals. Uh, why stop? What's, what I'm saying? Why, what's the need of stopping that when that's something that they find value in? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right, exactly. If you that's what I'm saying. If you find value in, you find value in it. You feel what I'm saying? But when it comes to questions of morals, I would say one, not everybody gets it from the Bible. For example, Confucius is huge in China. A lot of Chinese society follows Confucianism. You feel what I'm saying? Even if it's not a strictly a religion.
and what is Confucianism?
Confucian is more of a philosophy than a religion. It's more of a philosophy, but Confucianism or Taoism or Shintoism that came from Japan, Buddhism, all these came from the East.
Mhm.
Sikhism, they've been around for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. I
Yeah.
think Hinduism even was written before the Bible was written. So these things have been around for a very long time. You see what I'm saying? So like when it comes to a system of morals, what's stopping me from not robbing someone if I don't believe in the Bible is the fact that I don't want to rob someone. It's really that simple. I don't want to do it.
What if
But
somebody does want to?
if somebody does want to do it,
But why is it wrong? Isn't it the survival of the fittest?
no. The
No.
reason why here's my moral framework, right?
Mhm.
My moral framework is built on two things: human well-being and equality, right?
Mhm.
I want to do everything in my power, or I live my life in a way that's going to have equality as much as I can. Remember, I said as much as I can, and lift up human well-being as much as I can. Anything that goes against that is I view him as immoral. You feel what I'm saying? Anything that uplifts human well-being to the best of our ability, I view as moral. Anything that goes against that, I view as immoral. So that's why I will never rob someone, because it's not fair, and it doesn't lift human well-being. Because if I live in a society where people can just steal from each other, it's a dysfunctional society. You see what I'm saying? And the other thing that I would say is, honestly, if a person wants to steal from you, they're gonna find a way to steal from you. It doesn't matter what they believe. You feel me? Because I've known people who stole a bike and then prayed for forgiveness. You feel what I'm saying? So it really doesn't matter what they believe. If they want to do something, they're going to do it. That's why I've always said it's not necessary to have a moral framework or moral system, because someone's gonna do what they want to do, no matter what they believe.
That is true, but my thing is that how do we? So, that's true, right? We understand that there's people that are going to do what they want to do. The problem is that with that, we understand that there is going to be some form of punishment. The Most
Mhm.
High says that, what I'm saying, if you don't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, you will be faced with some form of internal punishment, right? So why wouldn't we want to, you know, pay homage, or, bring that up to as the forefront of something that we should follow, than to follow your philosophy, which is saying do without will, which is what we would consider to be, uh, I guess, what you would consider what a lot of these Satanists, or, when you go into that form, is to do without will, do what makes you feel good.
It's not a do or thou will is, I think, it's only half the phrase, right? At least in my worldview, and a lot of worldview of people that I know who are also atheists. It's not just do what thou will. It's like I said, do with thy will without harm to others. And that's any type of harm, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, etc., etc.
That's not
Do
what
with
it's.
thy will without harm to others. That's my worldview. And
But
I
you're
think
talking
that's worldview
about
of a lot of
you're
people.
being an individualist. You're
Mhm,
talking about yourself specifically,
mhm,
individually, but that's not what this is about. You can, I have my way, right? My wheelhouse of how I feel about a lot of things, but that doesn't
mhm.
necessarily mean that that's something for all people, right?
Correct.
If I'm going to talk about me, I want things to be about me individually, how I feel. But if you want to take that same approach, there's a lot of people that feel all types of ways, right? You
Mhm,
know, some people want to harm children. Some people want
mhm.
to, you know, harm, make it so that we don't have families. I mean, I can go on. The list can go on and on. And the
Of
thing
course.
is that we have to look at things. And I see you. Um, I see you. You look into the politics. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually have a degree in political science.
All right. So, do you mind sharing why you went into political science, as well as, you know, what's your background as far as are you like a Republican, Democrat, or what is your background?
I don't like either. Screw both of them. But I'm more of a leftist. I'm telling you the truth. And the reason for I'm more of a leftist is because I believe those policies uplift humanity a lot more than the conservative ideology. Um, but I went into politics because it was also something that I was interested in. I always talked about basically when I was growing up in my youth, I grew up under Bush. You know what I mean? So because I grew up under Bush, I started to pay real close attention to what was going on in politics because 2008 hit and my dad owned the dry cleaners at that time. And I saw what happened with that. You feel me? And I was always wondering why exactly is the economy is the way it is? What exactly happened? What controls this? Why does the housing market going down affect the entire economy? How are these things connected? That's how I became interested in, and that's when I started seriously studying politics and political systems and whatever. The reason why I got pushed more to the left and to the right because I was actually a lot more close to Republican than I am now. But the reason I got more pushed to the left and to the right is because to me, conservatives, a lot of the ideology is very, very short-sighted. You know what I mean? Because they're all capitalists. You know what I mean? And in capitalism, you have to make a profit. And it's essentially a zero-sum game. If you don't make profit, you're not doing anything. And they usually put profit, the profit motive, making money
Mhm,
over people. And we see that all the time with these corporations. We know that's what they did with black people in this country. Yeah, you know what I
mhm,
mean, they made more money, dumping, chemicals and giving poor housing to black people, and they could save money doing that because it's black people. Who cares? So they made more money by committing environmental racism than they would, just fixing the area, than taking responsibility for what they've done. So because of that, because I've seen that and I see that the conservatives are more short-sighted. They would do this but not think of the consequences just
mhm.
because they have a laser eye focus on that.
Okay.
That's when I saw that it pushed me a lot more to the left. And I
Mhm,
saw that what would benefit humanity more, and I think, or what would benefit our society more, I would say.
mhm,
And I would say that started with universal health care because I saw how the health system was in America, how we have to pay for everything basically. We got to pay for our medication, we got to pay to go to the doctor, we got to pay to go to the nurse. I break my leg, I probably have to drive myself to the hospital because the ambulance is gonna charge me $800. And you look at other countries, ambulance, they come pick you up, you go there, you don't have a medical bill, the government takes care of it, etc., things like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like, the way that I think, you said I'm thinking more of an individual level. I'm thinking more of an individual level only from my personal philosophy. But when it comes to actual life philosophy, how I think society should actually be ran, I think we should do the most for the most people and uplift the most people without harming anyone. You know what I'm saying? Do that as much as we can because there's gonna be some degree of inequality. That's always gonna happen. There's gonna be some degree of inequality. Like you may be smarter than me, I may be smarter than you. There's gonna be some degree of inequality. But if we can have both of us have the opportunity to make our lives better and there's no cutoff of like there's a floor to it. There's no like you have a more opportunity than me because you have more money. That doesn't exist. If we can get rid of that floor of everybody has the same opportunity, no matter where you were born or your status or your race, that's how I think society should be ran. You feel me? And that's why I believe that's why my philosophy or my personal morals are based on equality and uplifting of human well-being because of that. Because I want as much as society do well as they can. Does that make sense?
Yes. So is there anything you wanted to share? You wanted to make sure you got out before we ended the conversation. Also wanted to know if you mind answering any questions if we have anybody in the chat they may want to come on.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come on, I'll answer a question. The one thing I want to share is that these type of discussions are good and are all good and well. And I like that. One thing I would say is that a lot of people, the reason why I do these type of discussions is because a lot of people that I see don't really have a good idea of what an atheist even is. Essentially, I've met people who literally say that they think that I do drugs and have homosexual sex and all the other good stuff. I'm not even homosexual. I have a fiance. You know what I mean? So it's like one thing I would say is that atheists are as diverse as anybody else. The only thing that we share in common is that we don't have a belief in a God. That's really it. Anybody else could have any type of philosophy that they want to have. You feel what I'm saying? And these conversations need to happen. We need to speak more so people can understand each other better. I hope I've made myself more understandable and I represented, our philosophy, well, our worldview, I would say, well to people. And you're not more confused than when you left. I'll be some things clear if that's okay.
All right, so I just want to leave with this one question. We don't have to, I just want to make sure. Hey guys, I dropped the link if you guys want to come on and ask any questions. So, do you believe that every atheist is an evolutionist?
No, I've actually met atheists who don't believe in it.
Okay, so why did you accept it? Well, I asked that question to you earlier. So you said you met atheists that don't believe in it. What direction would they go in besides evolution?
They would actually say they don't know.
Okay.
They would actually say they don't know what it was or what happened. Now they don't accept any of the biblical narrative, but they don't accept evolution either, and they would say that they don't know what it was about. Now in the discussion with these people, I always tell them, hey, there's sources out there. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And they'll just say, oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I'm like, all right, fine. You don't believe it. You don't believe it. You don't accept it. You don't accept it. Is it is what it is. You can't force anybody to do anything. So
that's a fact. And somebody in the chat said atheist is also a religion, right? So
nah, atheism is not a religion. Atheism. That's so weird to me. It can't be a religion. We don't have a set of beliefs. The only thing that saying that atheism is a religion is like saying off is a TV channel.
No,
that doesn't make any sense.
Evolution is a theory, and a theory is something that is it's not proven as fact. That's why it's called a theory.
What is the right? But what is the definition of a scientific theory?
Okay, why don't you provide that?
Okay, the definition of a scientific theory. Give me a second. Give me 1 second, because I don't want to go off I don't want to go off the top. Okay, I usually say the wrong thing.
No, take your time, and if you have anything you want to share on your screen, just let me know.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 sec. All right. Yeah, let me share my screen.
All right, let me go ahead and once you share it, once you have it out.
Yeah, I'm sharing it now.
All right.
Yeah, so we see it right here. It says, for scientists, a theory has nearly the opposite meaning. A theory is a well-substantiated explanation of an aspect of a natural world that can incorporate laws, hypotheses, and facts. The theory of gravitation, for instance, explained why apples fall from trees and astronauts float in space. Similarly, the theory of evolution explains why so many plants and animals, some very similar, some very different, exist on Earth now and in the past, as revealed by the fossil record. So basically, a theory in science is basically essentially a body of facts. Essentially, how did this, what is this and how did it happen? That's what a theory is in science. And in science, in colloquial terms, a theory is just like your guess at things. In science, in order for something to graduate through a theory, you actually have to have backup for it. You need to have some sort of evidence. You need to have some sort of proof. It's not just throwing this out there. Does that make sense?
I get it, and some of those are probably theories that have been proven fact. But what about the ones that have not?
Such as what?
Oh, there's tons of theories that have not been proven, like evolution. Is not true. I mean, it's not. Like you said, 30 million years ago, we have all types of and you know what? Let me go ahead and share my screen because I have a lot of. I don't have to go off the top of my head either. I have a lot of stuff that I can share, and if there's something if you got something set up that you want to share, please let me know. Don't hesitate. Um, well, let's see here. Like I was saying,
So what do you think evolution says? Let me ask that.
what do I think it says? I believe that
Yeah.
what it says is that essentially is that, um, life sprung from other life. Life was created. There was a big bang. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, uh, just a bang disappeared, and then life, which is very, the human cell, just a cell alone is so complex. They don't even understand exactly how a cell is even formed or created. They don't even understand it. But the thing is that it's so complex. But the thing is that a bunch of rain essentially fell on rocks, right? And then all of a sudden it created cells, and then these cells decided to evolve into complex, um, you know, animals and structures. That doesn't make any sense. Where did life come from? You mean
Okay.
to tell me life came from rocks? That
Right.
makes
Okay.
more sense.
Okay. Here's the thing. With your entire explanation, you mixed up basically fields of science that actually really don't have anything to do with each other. And well, actually, all fields of science are connected. I would say that. I'm sorry. All fields of science are connected in some way, but those explanations are different explanations that explain different things. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to evolution, what evolution is basically an explanation for that diversity of life on Earth. It's not about the Big Bang. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to the Big Bang, that explains like our that's supposed to explain our current state of space time. You know what I'm saying? Our current state of space time is what explained from the Big Bang. But even if we were to find that the Big Bang is not true, that wouldn't say anything about evolution. If we were to find out that evolution isn't true, that wouldn't say anything about the Big Bang. You see what I'm saying? Like these are separate fields. So that the reason why I ask those questions is because I usually get the answer that you get, and that was the answer that I had before until I found out that these are actually different fields that have different evidences. You feel what I'm saying? Like the hardest evidence for the Big Bang is the cosmic microwave background radiation, and some of the biggest evidence for evolution is genetics. If we show that the entire field of genetics is BS, that says nothing about microwave background radiation. If we found out that background radiation is BS, that says nothing about genetics. You see what I'm saying? That's why I say these are two different things, and you can't really amalgamate them. So, I'm
Well,
sorry, you were about to say something.
yeah, because the thing is this, you're right. There are different stages of evolution. There's cosmic evolution. So what I just talked to
That's
you about,
from William Lane Craig. That's actually not true. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you said what wasn't true?
What you said about cosmic evolution, et cetera, that's something that William Lane Craig came up with. That's actually
Yes,
not true.
cosmic evolution
Scientists
is
don't actually say that.
there is cosmic, there is macro, there's cosmic, there's micro, there's macro. All those
There's
different,
micro and macro, yeah.
yeah, there is, that's what I'm saying, but there is cosmic. That's there as well. It's cosmic, which explains the primordial soup. When you get into the primordial soup, um, and then you get into you start with the Big Bang is what it's talking about, right? And then the Big Bang theory is the cosmic, and then it rained, and then it started to create, what we would consider to be these different species, which then they say microevolution, which is showcases very small changes which are formed by adaptation. But that's the only thing that we can actually observe. We cannot observe the macro, which is when the we see that the animals start to morph or evolve into different species, is what we're saying here. So you got to think about the macro as well as the cosmic. Those two have not been proven and it's not found.
Okay, well, the thing is about cosmic evolution that has nothing to do with the theory of evolution in the first place, and most like astronomers or cosmologists wouldn't, they laugh at that term. So it's like cosmic evolution is not really a thing, you know what I mean? And just like I said, like even with planetary formation, the Big Bang and everything like that, if we were to find out that all that is BS, that would still say nothing about evolution. That's what I'm trying to say. These are different fields. You feel me? You feel me? But when it comes to the whole primordial soup thing, that's more about origin of life than the evolutionary field. And origin of life research is its own field. Like that's something that I didn't even know existed until 2 years ago. Whole origin of life research. I didn't even know about that. So I'm not even gonna try to comment. You know what I mean? Like abiogenesis and all that other good stuff. I can't even comment on that because I have no idea how that works. You feel what I'm saying? But there is a YouTuber called Professor Dave that explains it. He explains it pretty well.
I'm having a hard time pulling up my presentation. I have to keep going. But when I talk about the you said that it's not evolution. How did the universe how did the universe and everything evolve in what it is today without without cosmic evolution, without it evolving? You got to think about it. It's speaking on non-living non-living things evolving into things that are now alive. We have to explain that time. Explain what that is. What is that exactly? How did this manifest? You have to think about it like that. You have a Big Bang, which then exploded, and then it evolved into what we see today. But you say that's not evolution.
No, it's not.
This primordial ooze, which is a non-living. It's non-living. It's nothing is living, right? There is no life. Then all of a sudden, boom, it just started to come alive. All of this requires you to believe in it. You have to believe that non-living things turned into something that lives.
Okay, this is how I'll explain it. Okay, when it comes to the Big Bang, it's not just some big explosion and then things happened. All right, the Big Bang is actually an expansion of space time. That's what it explains. Expansion of space time and matter essentially. That's that's one thing. When it comes to the entire primordial ooze and the primordial soup, that type of good stuff is what we colloquially will call it. That has to do with abiogenesis and how chemicals basically conform and come together, and that's an entire field of chemistry that I can't explain well. But excuse me, what I do know a little bit about is when it comes to to evolution, it starts at life already existing, basically single cell organisms, life already existing, and how they diversified over time. Excuse me, over billions of years. The origin of life, how exactly that single cell organism came to be, is a lot to do with chemistry, with is a lot with chemistry, as a matter of fact. And I'm not a chemist, so I can't really explain it. I will suggest you talk to someone called Professor Dave. He's the one. He's on YouTube. Look up Professor Dave Explains. He has a whole playlist of origin of life research, and you can speak to him. You know what I mean? Because he knows way more about that than I do. Because he's an actual master degree chemist, and he's a researcher, and he knows all the studies, all the chemical reactions, physics. He knows all that stuff. You know, but that's origin of life. We're talking about when the primordial soup. But when we're talking about like evolution itself, it's actually already that life is already here, and it's explaining how it diversified. So these are three different fields that we're talking about. Sure, they can connect in some way, but if you were to say this one isn't true, that doesn't mean all the other ones aren't true. That because they don't stand on the same principles. Are like I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but non-living things, non-living chemicals becoming living, that's not something I understand either. You feel what I'm saying? Which is why I've always said that I'm not, you're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Thought I clicked the button. Sorry. I got a lot of things that I have to say.
Yeah.
You say that you gave up the Bible. because it didn't make it, it was like make believe. But my thing is that you have a lot of stuff that you believe in. You believe that it rained and then non-human, non-living things, they don't even know what it was. I guess some rocks, some stones, whatever. It rained on those stones and then they decided to come alive.
That's not
That
what I said.
sounds more that no, that's what it is. We
No, that's
simplified
not what I
it.
said.
We don't have to use all this terminology because the thing is we know that they said that nothing was alive, but it just all of a sudden came alive. Just out of the blue. It just said, it's like my cell phone right here. It just said I'm getting ready to come alive. I mean, come on. I mean, we really have to think about it like that. You really have to sit down and you really have to think about it.
All right, but Nephtali, I don't think you understood what I was trying to say before. When I talked about like what we're talking about right there with the entire thing, that's origin of life research, and I say I don't know anything about origin of life research. I'm not a chemist, and that has a lot to do with chemistry. I've seen some of the videos on it, and I didn't understand it. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I can't tell you what origin of life research is. I'm not even sure if I believe everything that they say about the origin of life research. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not saying. Hold on. Right. Oh, yeah, right. Hold on. Wait. What I'm saying is like when you say, "Oh, you're saying this is what you believe," I didn't say I believe that. Nor did I say I believe that rain fell on rocks and all of a sudden it came alive. That's not even what original life research even says. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I believe it.
What does it say then?
Well, when as far as I can tell, when it comes to abiogenesis, the chemicals.
Well, you on here? Why don't you teach?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
yeah, go ahead and get your screen together. Why don't you pull it up? Because the thing is like this. What they're essentially saying is Thor, it rained and Thor came out and he struck lightning down on some stones and then they decided to come alive. That's what they're actually teaching, right? They just took Thor out, right?
Nah,
Because the
it's
thing
a
is, it's the same. It's just as matter of fact, I think it sounds more
nah,
ridiculous because
it's
the
a
thing is
lot more complicated than that. Let me show
no,
you.
it's okay. Well, I can't wait to see because the
All
thing
right.
is like this.
Do you like, for example, you see how I say like this has had a lot to do with chemistry? This right here, prebiotic synthesis, polymatters, protocells, all that. I can't even. I don't even know what that means.
No,
You
and
feel what I'm saying?
that's
So
what hurts me is the fact that you don't even know what it is, but
right,
you don't require anything to even know, to even care. You don't even care.
right. But what I
That you
right
need
exactly.
to
But
know
what I
what this
say,
is.
okay, but what I said before is that I don't understand this, so I'm not gonna comment on it. Nor do I think that because I don't understand it, I don't comment on it. Nor I'm gonna say if I believe it or not. I'm more agnostic when it comes to this. I don't know if I believe this or not because I'm gonna need to understand this a lot more before I even accept it. You feel what I'm saying? But I do know that the way you're describing it is a lot more complicated than lightning fell on rocks and it became alive. That's not what they say. It's a lot more complicated than that. That's all I'm saying. It's a lot more complicated than what you're
They're making
describing.
it more
But
complicated to make you respect it. The thing is that you say you don't know, but the people who you're putting your trust in, do they really know? Just because you put in some big words, the thing is when we actually break it down, like how you sit up here, you'll tell me, oh, you got a God. People talking about Thor, people talking about all these deities. It sounds like nonsense, but you have a deity. And that deities are these scientists, these so-called paleontologists, these are the ones that you actually are putting your faith. You're putting your faith into these people because the thing is that nobody was here to see any of this. And then what they're saying is, when you really break it down, they're saying that life came from non-life.
right. Right. And that's what I mean. Like life coming from non-life doesn't really make sense to me at this point.
But
But what I'm saying
that's
is that
the only point. It can, unless it come, where does it come from?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know everything. Hold on. Definitely, what I'm saying is that I don't know everything. I'm not gonna say that I know where life came from.
Those are the
You know what I'm saying? And
fundamentals.
I'm not flipping flopping. I've always said I don't know where life came from. I don't even know if there's a God or not.
But
But
one thing you know is that the Bible isn't true, though, right? You know that. You
that
know
the
that.
Bible isn't true. No,
Yes.
I never said that the hold on. I didn't say that the Bible is completely untrue. That's not what I said. the way I view the Bible is that it does have some history into it. We know that Moab existed. We know that the tribe of Judah existed. We know that these things actually did exist. But the way that they describe the events, were those things true?
Like
That is
what?
extremely doubtful. For
Name one.
example, the way that they described Jonah in the well, that actually happened. That's doubtful. Sodom and Gomorrah, the way that we know that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, but the way to describe the way that it was destroyed, is that the way that it actually happened? That's doubtful.
How do you say it was destroyed? What is your how
I
did
don't know
you
how it was destroyed. I'm just saying I doubt the biblical narrative.
what that everybody was killed due to a catastrophic event?
Right.
But how's
That's
that? And how does that? If I break it down like that, why isn't that believable?
Oh wait, like I'm sorry, you said a catastrophic like a catastrophic event. Yeah, a catastrophic event probably
Doesn't
could
it
have happened,
sound like
or
Pompeii? Doesn't it
huh?
sound like Pompeii?
It's not like Pompeii. Yeah. Hold on, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you meant. Yeah, a catastrophic event, sure, could have happened, but the way I describe of a deity causing the catastrophic event, that's what that's the part that I doubt. You
But
feel
it
what I'm saying?
happening just out of nowhere. Even though when we look at everything that we see, I mean, not a single, like not everything, but a lot of things that we do see is triggered by a person or some form of, individual or someone that is, I'm saying that, like, for instance, when they had a nuclear destruction within Tokyo, Japan, it was
Mhm.
caused by, a human. It was caused by a being, is what I'm saying. So the fact that a being is involved is that makes it untrue than it just happening spontaneously.
Natural disasters happen spontaneously all the time. You just mentioned Pompeii.
But
That
the
was
thing
spontaneous.
is that a lot of that is caused by humans. A lot of our, the things that we do, as far as
What, volcanoes and hurricanes are caused by humans?
pollutants, all types of things can cause, you know,
Oh, wait,
changes
hold
in
on.
the
But
weather.
my question is, like, these could have been natural disasters that happened, right? But you're saying that that humans are involved. You're saying that volcanoes and hurricanes are caused by
I'm not
humans?
speaking on volcanoes. I'm speaking on all different types of natural disasters can be influenced by humans interfering with the
With
weather,
the environment.
with the environment. Yes, our destruction there. That's why they say we need to make sure we stop, polluting. You know what I'm saying? The
With
pollution
climate change. Exactly. Yeah.
exactly with climate change. So
Right,
that's what.
right. Yeah, that's some yeah, of course. Humans driving climate change is something,
All the animals are
I could understand that
contaminated.
halfway. But
All the animals are becoming endangered. Why is that? With the
humans.
elephants. The
Humans.
elephants exactly. The
They're
elephants
humans.
are being, they were killing them for their tusks.
Right,
All
right.
of that
Humans.
come from us, right? From humans. It's us. So we're the ones that are causing the destruction. So why is the fact that there is a being that caused the destruction and with Sodom and Gomorrah?
Right. Okay. So my thing is this: humans can cause. I'm not saying humans can't cause destructions.
Mhm.
Humans can cause destructions, of course. But when we're talking about that, these could have been just natural disasters, such as a meteor strike, a volcano, storms, things like that. If a storm happens and someone says that, a being sent that storm, that's when I'm doubtful. You feel what I'm saying? Because storms happen all the time without beings being involved, without a supernatural something, without something supernatural being involved. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, they happen all the time. It doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily require a being to do it. We know how hurricanes form. We know how tornadoes form. We know how earthquakes happen. It doesn't require a being. So when people start saying that this happened because of a being, that's when I'm doubtful, because it could have happened naturally. Now there are things that don't happen naturally, such as the Fukushima disaster that you mentioned, such as Chernobyl. Those are not natural events, and we know they're not. But humans having an effect on the environment, that's something that we're seeing now that makes hurricanes worse. But as far as thousands of years ago, back then, when we weren't putting fossil fuels
We
into
don't
the
know
air,
that.
completely
But we
different.
don't know that. But we don't see that's you're assuming,
Now
and
I'm no,
a lot
we
of
actually have
a lot
proof.
of things. Mhm.
If you look at there's how they do it. They look at ice cores. Ice cores are basically, they go up to like the north or the south pole, and they dig like deep into the earth, and they take out pieces of ice, right? And they could actually measure what was the temperature, how much carbon was in the air during these certain thousands of years ago. And we know from certain thousands of years ago, there was not as much carbon in the air as there is now. That's one of the ways that we prove that humans are causing climate change, because we're putting more carbon in the air.
All right. So my thing is like this, right? I know that what you're saying is not true, but I don't have anything set up to verify. I really hate. I don't know what's going on with my laptop today. My presentation is just not coming up. But anyway, so the thing is what this is my biggest point here is that a lot of the things that you say sound uh, unbelievable. Your evolution shares it, and actually it's worse, right? You talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, you talk about Jonah and the whale. The thing is that just like Jonah and the whale doesn't make any sense, the whole fact of apes traveling across the Atlantic Ocean, that right there doesn't make sense. Um, not animate objects forming into complex cells in human life. You talked about how about chromosome, and the thing is that mitochondria Eve actually proves that all humans came from one ancestor, and that was they called a mitochondria Eve, and we have uh, what is it, Adam, and let me get
I heard of mitochondrial Eve. Yeah.
you heard of mitochondria Eve, and have you heard of I had all this prepared for you.
Yeah, there's something I think it's called paternal Adam. When it comes to mitochondrial Eve, it's basically a person that everyone on the planet is related to in some way. That doesn't mean that all humans we're all related to mitochondrial Eve, because we still have her mitochondria in us. But that doesn't mean that she was the only woman alive on Earth at that point. It's just that we all descended from her.
You said we're all not this. You said there's another.
No, there is a male for it. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called paternal Adam or something like that. I'm not sure what it's called.
No,
But I was talking about mitochondrial Eve. When it comes to mitochondrial Eve, they're not saying that she was the only woman in the world that existed at that point. It's just that everybody on Earth right now is related to this one singular person. She had a lot of descendants, essentially us, all of us. We're all descended from her. But she wasn't the only woman on the planet at that point. We know that.
And that's there's Y chromosomal Adam. That's
Y chromosomal Adam. That's what it's called.
Yes, there's Y chromosomal Adam, and then there's
thing
mitochondria Eve. And the
they
thing is
existed.
that if you go back,
Mhm.
those are the ones that we share. The two,
Right.
Yes.
No, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the
So
thing is,
my
mitochondrial.
Mhm.
Mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosomal Adam, they existed like years apart. I think thousands or even millions of years apart. But not only that, we know that mitochondrial Eve was not the only woman on Earth. They found other bones and other fossils of her species around. So she wasn't the only one on Earth. Is that we all descended from her.
Do you have a source that shows that?
Give me a sec.
And I have a source that says Adam and Eve did not live too far apart in time with Y chromosomal Adam. And then it says here from the Stanford Medicine that common genetic ancestors lived during roughly the same period of time. They say mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosomal Adam, two individuals who passed down a portion of their genomes to the vast expanse of humanity, are known as our most recent common ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And it says now a study led by the Stanford University School of Medicine indicates the two roughly overlap during, so they're saying evolutionary time. The man lived between 120,000, 156,000 years, and the
Right.
woman lived between 99,000 and 148,000 years ago. So
Right.
they're saying that
They're thousands of years apart.
not necessarily, they said their time overlapped, so they could have lived simultaneously based off of. Now, I know for a fact that they lived at the same time, and it wasn't no hundreds of thousands of years ago. But the fact that they're showcasing that there is a man and there's a woman where
Mhm.
pretty much all of our DNA came from. It actually
Mhm.
is another eyewitness to the fact of what the biblical narrative is. This is another eyewitness to, showcase, more, proof of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is,
Yeah, here it is. Give me a second.
mhm.
Because they talk about the misconceptions about mitochondrial Eve. Here it is, not the only woman. One common misconception surrounding mitochondrial Eve is that since all women alive today descended in direct, unbroken female line from her, she must have been the only woman alive at the time. However, nuclear DNA studies indicate that effective population size of the ancient human never dropped below tens of thousands. Other women living during Eve's time may have descendants alive today, but not in the direct female line. So essentially, like all females, like we all get everyone who had a mother, basically all of us, we directed from her line, but she wasn't the only one at that time. And nuclear DNA study shows that she wasn't the only one. There were thousands of others. She wasn't the only one alive. You see what I mean? And look, and there's another one, not necessarily a contemporary of Y chromosome Adam. It says sometimes mitochondria is assumed to live the same time as Y chromosome Adam, and perhaps even met and mated with him. If this were true, which is currently regarded as highly unlikely, this would be a coincidence. Like mitochondrial Eve, Y chromosome Adam probably lived in Africa. A recent study concluded, however, Eve lived much later than Adam, some 140,000 years later.
Okay, well, they're not quoting really any source.
No, it's a source. I click on it.
No, I mean not.
Father of all, here it is. The father of all men. Here's the source right here.
But what you
Father
said,
of all men,
based off the nuclear.
and we can go on.
You said based off of nuclear.
Nuclear DNA studies.
And what is what is nuclear DNA studies? Because right here it says that this study was led by Stanford University School of Medicine. To indicate that the two they said that they overlap during that time. So the
Right.
thing
Their species may have overlapped, but the two individuals themselves overlapped.
Okay, I get, the thing is that just like with the apes and the monkey, it's just like the monkeys going across, what I'm saying, to the other side, uh to the across the Atlantic Ocean to South America. They're going to try to make an excuse or reason as to by throwing in, oh, there were women, there was a man before that. Oh, they decided to go over there. They build rafts because they felt the need to. It's like always, they're going to always put something in there to detract from the fact that we come from one man and one woman. That's what the Bible speaks of. And
But
the thing
here's always been my issue with that.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I
No,
interrupted
go
you.
ahead. I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. But here's always been my issue with that. If we descended from one man and one woman, right? Okay. That's a very, very fast way to go extinct because of inbreeding. Where did the children inbreed with each other? Because that's gonna cause major issues if that's the case.
You have to say that to yourself. When life was just coming up from non-living life, right? We got something that's not even alive, just created, just came alive spontaneously, right? What when that whatever came alive, wouldn't it have to be with the others, whatever? I mean, you got to think about it like this. It doesn't make any sense that something that's non-living made something that became alive. Now that other thing that became alive had to come alive with something else. They had to come alive simultaneously, right? And then it had to be in the same creature, and they had to mate together. Now, once they mated together, their offspring had to mate together, and then their offspring had to mate together in order for us to come together. And you sit up here and you say to me, like, this sounds ridiculous, but my question to you is, why doesn't this sound ridiculous to you?
Okay. Again, you're asking me to answer for abiogenesis, something that I don't even
I'm
understand.
not asking you to answer for abiogenesis. You said to me that incest sounds ridiculous. So my question to you is incest is involved in your belief? Why are you able to believe it with the evolution, but you're not willing to accept it when it comes to the biblical narrative? That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to explain abiogenesis. I'm asking you to just explain why do you have a problem with incest in this area, but you don't have a problem with incest in the other one?
Well, but here's the problem. The reason why you are is because you brought up abiogenesis again. So you're asking me to account for something that I don't even understand. You feel what I'm saying? So like, but when it comes to incest in of itself, we know incest causes issues. It causes problems. It causes infertility. It causes susceptibility to disease. Now, if you're asking me, did incest happen during abiogenesis? Again, I do not know because I don't understand abiogenesis. I cannot answer that question for you, and that's just me being honest. I don't know how prebiotic life happened, or if it happened, or what was the entire thing. And I told you before, when it comes to abiogenesis, I don't accept it fully because I don't understand it fully. So I can't answer that question. I can't say if I believe it. I do know it's more complicated than what you're saying because of what I've read, but I can't tell you that this is what I believe and this is the fact that happened. So it's telling me, oh, did incest happen here? I don't know. That's just, I have no clue. You feel me? I don't know how that works. But when we do know about life that as it exists now, if we're gonna say that a fully formed human, one man and one woman, had children together, did they inbreed? Because that would be a very, very fast way to have infertile children, as we've seen all the time. Now, if you're asking me, did incest happen in the long time ago in the primordial soup? I have no clue. I don't know how that works. I can't answer that for you. You will need to ask origin of life researchers. Yeah, I mean, you'll have to ask those chemists. And I told you before, when it comes to that, I don't accept that entire hypothesis fully because I don't even understand it. You see what I'm saying? So telling me this is something you accept, no, it's not. You just can't keep saying you accept this. Explain it. That's like me. That's like asking me to explain, Sikhism to you. I don't know anything about Sikhism, so I can't explain why they believe what they believe. You see what I mean, Nephtali? I can't. You can't tell me to explain something that I haven't even accepted and don't even understand. I don't know.
I get it. I understand. Yep. I get what you're saying. You really don't understand, and you just, like you said. But my thing is, if you really don't understand, I just say this to you. I don't know why you're taking the chance to believe in it. But you have you like you said, you're growing and you're learning more about it. And my thing is, I just came to you to give you just something to think about. You know what I'm saying? You got to think about it. You said you don't know, you don't know. It's not like you don't really know. My thing is that with that same thing, you have to think about, why are you willing to believe in something that you lack a lot of knowledge on, right? But then again, when it comes to the Bible, you know what I'm saying, you look at it and you go, even though there's tons of evidence to support that, you say, oh, I don't want to accept it, which is okay. But is there anything else that you might have wanted to share? I dropped the link in the audience. I guess nobody wanted to come on and ask any questions. Is there anything else you might want to chat with us? If not, we can go ahead and get out of here. We've been live for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I gotta go see what the hell's what's going on with my nephew because he was crying earlier.
Oh, all right. Well, again, if you have anything you want to close out with, and go ahead, and then we're going to go ahead and get out of here.
No problem. I just want to thank y'all for letting me on. I hope we can have more conversations later.
Okay.
As I said, with when it comes to a lot of these terms and a lot of these things that I told you that I don't understand yet. Like I will always say, defer to the experts. This is something that we do in any form of life. If I have an issue with my heart, I'm going to a cardiologist. I'm not going to my homie down the street. You know what I'm saying? So I always say, defer to the experts, see if they can explain it, and see if they can explain it much better than I can. And I hope that we can have more discussions. And like I said, I'm learning more. And if I understand it better, I'll come back and I'll explain what I've come to understand.
That sounds great. And like I said, I thank you so much for coming on. And I'm gonna, sit here for a second, but if you want to go ahead and hit, close out. I mean, you closed out, but I'm going to stay on for a second. So again, I thank you so much for coming on, and I look forward to seeing you again. We can speak on this again, or you can, come on and actually prepare, present something for us.
All right, not a problem.
Okay. Well, it's good speaking with you.
You guys have a good night.
Shalom, Most High bless. All right, guys. It's been a minute. Those of you that lasted this long, let me take a look at the chat and see what's going on. See what you guys got to say. Anybody got anything? All right. You said what there, Hazel? He needs to research more on what he thinks. Great show, good brother. All right, thank you, James. Thank you guys for watching. I know it's been a minute since I've been on, guys, and like I said, I always have this same spiel. I always say this, but I actually have a Christmas presentation that I'm getting ready to do. I look forward to it. It's going to be very fun. I'm going to be talking about Baal. I'm going to be linking together how Christmas actually goes back to Odin, how the mistletoe, the wreath. You know, I was so surprised when it came across the whole thing. Like Santa Claus actually came from Odin riding in a chariot of ready goats. I know, sounds crazy, right? But we're going to actually get into that. I'm actually going to showcase, um, do a whole presentation on it. It's going to be pretty fun. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. After that, I'm actually going to get into the chariots. Actually, get into the chariots. It's going to be a presentation I'm going to be doing called the Chariots of the Gods, and I'm actually going to showcase how all across ancient, we look at how the ancient, you look at the Greeks, you look at the Romans, you look at all these different ancient civilizations. They all have artwork where it showcases their deities coming down from the sky, right? Coming down and visiting with them. And they all have chariots. And they all have different chariots. We can call a chariot an actual chariot, and we can also call a spaceship. We have actual, Sumerian artwork where it showcases, uh, beings coming down and things like that. So I really look forward to those presentations. You said they showed that scene on the Viking series. Yes, it actually comes from the Vikings. You actually saw that. Yes, so that's actually where Santa Claus with the reindeer, it actually comes from Odin, who had a chariot of goats. So this whole Christmas thing actually comes from the Vikings, and it stems down to the Nordics, and then it was evolved because we have to think about it like this. Um, we have to think about it like this. All of them, Constantine, they never stopped worshiping their God. They never did. They never stopped. And what you got to say? Oh, shalom, Dulcinea. Thanks for popping by. Sis, I'm gonna have you come on one day and present some information to us. And what you say here, Tim's good seeing you. You said I forgot what lost book it is, but one book says demons go to heaven. When they lose their strength, they fall and look like shooting stars. Mm. The shooting stars are actually fallen angels. That's actually what they say, those shooting stars, a star. And I'm going to be talking about that more in that video. I mean, that presentation that I'm going to be having talking about the chariots of the gods. And then after that, guys, we're going to get into, oh my goodness, you guys are going to be like, Neff, what are you going with this, sis? We're going to get into some of like I talk about these elves. We're going to talk about the gargoyles. They're all around these structures. We're going to get into Inky. We're going to get into Enlil because the cone hats, all that stuff is represented. The witch hats. We're going to get into all of that. I'm telling you, it's going to be fun, guys. I can't wait to share this information. What you say, Tim? You said, yeah, that's what it says. Facts. You said, hath the nation changed their gods, which are ye no gods, but my people have changed their glory for that which don't not profit. Facts. I love that. You said Odin / Quetzalcoatl. That's what I'm saying. People want to get around here and act like you got the Mexicans right now to this day. Their airport is called Quetzalcoatl Airport, right? That's all the way over there. Then you have Odin, which is all the way in Europe, correct? Then if we go span back to the Sumerians, which is all the way in the, the Mesopotamian area. Is that all mere coincidence that this blonde hair man traveled across? Now, this sounds ridiculous, but apes coming across the Atlantic Ocean sounds ridiculous. But these people who said that they were visited by a deity with blonde hair that actually resembled the same deity that the Nordics worship, is that mere coincidence, or does that mean that, hey, something actually came down and actually visited? And then, I tried to hit the brother with the Dogon tribe with the Sirius star. There is simply no way plausible. When I say plausible, it doesn't make any sense as to why they would have such knowledge unless they were visited. Also, guys, I'm going to be working on this one. The Eye of Africa being possibly Atlantis, right? They actually are saying that the Eye of Africa could possibly be Atlantis. And I actually have maps that showcase Africa. Very it doesn't look primitive. It looks like there was oceans. Rivers and lakes and places. There were all types of civilizations all around. It didn't look the way that it looked today. So I have these maps, and I'm going to showcase Africa, as well as it possibly being the Eye of Africa being Atlantis. So, guys, we got some stuff coming up. What you got to say here? You said, yes, I would love to converse with you sometime. We got the plan. All right, Dulcinea, are you on Instagram? Are we friends on Facebook? If not, okay, we are friends. Cool. I'm going to send you a message on there. You and I can do something together. You said coincidence. What you got to say, Timothy? You say apes, hominids, Neanderthals, they all the same. Come on. What you got here? Dimensional travel, not. But you know what? We can argue that. Interdimensional beings. If that sounds better to people than to say extraterrestrial beings. You said apes rafting across the Atlantic is wild. Man, that's how much they do not want to let go this belief that we came from the apes. They need us. They need the apes to be in Africa so they can say that they came and that we were the ones that came first, and with the the evolving from these apes. But they have to explain how those same apes got over there to South America. What their explanation is. Now, these so-called they have these philosophers, these PhDs, right? All these doctors, these with these people with these master degrees, these well-studied people, they all came together, and what did they come up with? The fact that these apes just decided 30 million years ago to create a raft made out of banana leaves and float across the Atlantic. Guys, also, inanimate, something that wasn't alive, just spontaneously just came alive, right? Just came alive, right? That makes sense. What you got? Did you just laughing? What you got to say here? Exactly, but they just uncovered chimpanzees' oldest bones in Turkey. Really? Really, Yavin? I would love for you to come on and share that with me, or send that to me so I can have that. What you got to say here, Voicy? Oh, your channel is still on there? Okay, sorry. How do I do? Okay.